Next thing I wanted to talk about is the Asian Game podcast, which I am actually a huge fan of. You guys should definitely go and subscribe to them on streaming platforms. They do really good work. I've collabed with Martin Lowe, who's part of the Asian Game podcast, many times. We haven't talked since the last Asian Cup. I should probably reach out to him. Really good guy, and they make good stuff regarding Asian football, so definitely give them a sub. But they had a section in their recap video, South Africa versus South Korea, and they were talking about the talent of South Korea, and they were comparing it to Japan, and they were comparing the performances of Korea to Japan, and they were making the case that if you look at starting 11 versus starting 11, South Korea is right there, I believe were the words that they chose, or almost the same, practically the same, something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. And they even suggested that from a, A-tier player, like a star player perspective, Korea is better than Japan even. And therefore, we should be having a similar expectation for South Korea than we do as for Japan at this World Cup. And I wanted to react to this because I think the narrative or the suggestion that we should have similar expectations for South Korea as Japan are laughable, quite frankly. And I think it is actually detrimental to South Korea because it is a standard that they simply cannot meet. I mean, guys, if you want to do a combined 11, Japan versus South Korea, how many Koreans get in? Because I also disagree with that point that they made, where they were like, well, starting 11, it's basically, similar. No, it's not. Not really. I mean, goalkeeper is Zion Suzuki. If you do the back line, the only Korean who makes it in is Kim Min-jae. So Young-woo doesn't make it in. Lee Tae-seok doesn't make it in. Nobody else makes it in. It's one Korean in the first 5 players. If we use the, wing-back system that both teams have decided to adopt with a 2-man central midfield, that central midfield is Kaishu Sano and Daichi Kamada. It's not Hwang In-beom. I love Hwang In-beom. I would put him as the 3rd midfielder. I don't think he starts. I don't think he starts in a combined team. And if you're looking at the wing-back position, I'm a big fan of So Young-woo. You're talking about Ritsu Doan or Takafusa Kubo or Junya Ito, all 3 of which are better players than South Korea's starter. You're talking about the bench guys are the same quality or better than South Korea's starters. So I just don't agree. And then Lee Tae-seok, versus Keito Nakamura. Like, again, it's not even a discussion. And then if you want to get into the attacking triangle, this is where I think you have a strong argument for Lee Gang-in to start. I would start Lee Gang-in. He does get into a combined South Korea versus Japan. The other one, Kaoru Mitoma versus Son, or Kaoru Mitoma versus Lee Jae-sung? Come on, man. It's Kaoru Mitoma. And then at the striker position, I love Oh Hyun-gyu. Cho Gae-sung, I think, he's been okay at this World Cup. A serviceable backup. He gives you something. Cho Gae-sung versus even Ogawa is a legitimate conversation, though. Oh Hyun-gyu versus Ayase Ueda. Which one am I taking? I mean, I think I would take Ueda right now. I love Oh Hyun-gyu again, but right now, current form, what have you done for me in the past 2 seasons? I'm going to go with Ayase Ueda. So we're talking, but I'll be generous, and let's say it's O. Let's say it's O, gets in. That's 3 Koreans and 8 Japanese players. If we go to the bench, it's not even comparable. And in fairness to the Asian game, they were not talking about the overall talent pool. They were talking about the starting 11. But I think the starters for Japan are clear. I think the bench for Japan is clear. I think the coach for Japan, Hajime Moriyasu versus Hung Min-bo, is clear. And I can't even believe that I'm saying that. I mean, Moriyasu is not a bad manager. He just pisses me off and is highly controversial. I just really, really want him to win something. That's how I feel about it. Hung Min-bo has basically thrown out the playbook that got South Korea through I'm going to say a rather impressive qualifying campaign. Draws against Palestine aside, I thought they were pretty good. Switches up the entire formation months before the World Cup, and it has led to a disaster where you have finished below South Africa. You're in 3rd place. Ironically, maybe this gave you a more manageable opponent in an Egypt, but I think Egypt are the better team, and I would pick Egypt to win right now. So, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is no matter how you want to look at it, player production, player output to Europe, Japan is clear. Starting 11 strength, Japan is clear. Not slightly better. I'm talking magnitudes, levels better, right? One of these is like a Mudkip. South Korea is like a Mudkip, and freaking Japan is like a Gyarados or something. Like there's just differences in Pokemon here, all right? So one Pokemon has evolved to the utmost thing. If you want to say that it's Blaziken instead, right, to get to the 3rd evolution, I really think Korea is on the 1st evolution if we're talking Pokemon terms. So I guess what I'm saying is we should challenge this narrative when we see it, that we should be expecting the same from South Korea. Why? Because they went further in 2002? what has South Korea done in the last 8 years to suggest that we should think the same of them as we do of Japan? The Asian Game did a segment when they were previewing all World Cup teams. Well, I don't know if they did it for all of them, but they did it for Japan and South Korea, where they asked, can Japan win the World Cup? Can South Korea win the World Cup? And I thought when they did this for Japan, it's actually somewhat of a legitimate question. It's a hot take, but it's a legitimate question to have. For South Korea to ask, can they win the World Cup? It is a absolutely freaking not, is how I feel about that. So I guess I just wanted to talk about that because I don't really reference other creators that often on the channel, and I thought listening to the Asian Game podcast, which I do all the time. Again, I'm a fan of these guys. I'm not trying to like say they don't know ball or anything like that. I just think that they really want to see every Asian team be as successful as possible, and so they're always choosing to look at them in the most optimistic lens. I think that's really the framework that they have. I just disagree with them on this particular point, but you guys let me know down below in the comments.